And Dr. Melnick, I don't know if you want to introduce who's going to lead the discussion, and we will listen in. And I should say, Councillor Bowerman was going to have to leave at 11:30 anyway, and thought it would be better not to disrupt and leave at 11:30. So she had a previous engagement or something she needed to go to. So let's get started. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cheryl Bryant, and good morning, councilors. We're going to start the work session off. Janice Koch, who's our Environmental Public Health Director, will go through the first few slides here, and then Jeff Harbison, who's our Director of Administrative Services, will continue. I'll leave it to Janice to start off.
Great, thank you. Good morning, councilors. As Alan said, I am Janice Koch, Environmental Health Director. I'm here with Dr. Melnick and Jeff Harbison today to present our proposed environmental fees for 2022. Our presentation today will reflect input we received from you during our one-on-ones and one-on-two meetings earlier this week. Next slide, Jeff, or someone. So the purpose of our presentation is to gain your input and support for fee ordinance we will bring to you most likely in October. Today we will be presenting the environmental public health fee background, fee model proposals, and some next steps. The environmental public health fee funds activities in our drinking water, rec water, solid waste and hazardous waste, on-site septic permitting, on-site septic operation and maintenance, food safety, and school health and safety programs. The fees are calculated to align with projected program costs. From 2011 to 2018, program costs were supplemented by county general fund to cover greater good. Greater good is defined as any program work that is not related to a permit or fee. Now I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jeff so he can go over some of the fee schedule specifics.
All right. Good morning, councilors. Next slide, please. So our fee adjustment policy timeline, 2012 and 2016, there were no fee adjustments. And at that time, as Janice mentioned, the general fund was contributed to fund the greater good. 2017-18, there was an overall fee adjustment of 1.35%. In 2019, the council policy direction was moved towards 100% cost recovery to relieve some pressure on the general fund. The overall fee adjustment was 29.13% that year. Last year, 2020, the adjustment was quite a bit smaller, but we're still moving in the direction of 100% cost recovery. Next slide. So one of the policy considerations we mentioned on Monday was consider only for the on-site septic permitting and drinking water safety programs, moving to a 90% fee and 10% non-fee or general fund support. Currently, we're at 95% and 75% respectively in those two programs. The reason we're still not at 100% cost recovery with them is there is quite a bit of greater good work in those programs, so the lift to go back to full cost recovery was quite large. Those two programs are the most related to economic activity around construction. They're highly susceptible to economic fluctuations. 2009, 2010, those two programs were decimated by the economic downturn. When we do have to make layoffs, those two programs also, the technical nature of that work requires quite a bit of training for those staff to be able to work independently. Next slide. This is our using the current council or board of health policy for cost recovery, which again has drinking water at 75% cost recovery and on-site septic permitting at 95% cost recovery. The overall increase in fee revenue is 5.20%. I want to point out that the on-site septic permitting at 95% cost recovery is a 5.08% increase in fee revenue. Next slide. This is the 90-10 model. The 5.03% increase in on-site septic permitting going to 90% cost recovery is down to a reduction in fee revenue of 0.43%. Drinking water safety going from 75% cost recovery all the way to 90 still results in a reduction in fee revenue of 1.26%. Overall, this is a 5.21% increase in fee revenue, which is within a few hundredths of a percentage point compared to the current board policy with 75 and 90. So going to this 90-10 approach with those two programs does not require any additional general fund to be contributed for 2022. This is almost a complete wash moving forward with the current board policy and moving to this proposed 90-10 approach with those two programs. Next slide, please. So what we are hoping to get to today is a consensus from the Board of Health on what proposal they would like to move forward with. We will take that guidance and complete our 2022 budget work, as well as develop the environmental public health fee schedule and ordinance for public hearing at the October Board of Health meeting. I think we're ready for questions or discussions.
Thank you. Would you go back to the previous slide for just a second? So how is it that we're collecting less when we raise the fee?
So there's collecting less when we raise the fee. There's volume fluctuations, and these are based on program costs. So if the cost of a program goes down or the volume goes up drastically, it's gonna impact that. We're only collecting 90% of the program cost, and the original was 95% in the on-site septic program. Drinking water, those program costs are just lower.
Okay, are there questions of the council on this?
I have a general set of questions.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you. So obviously, we're not a for-profit business. We don't have competitive pressures to keep our costs down. I just want to hear kind of the ongoing efficiencies that we're trying to achieve to keep, the time requirement, to keep the processing, the administrative overhead as low as possible, because I know we're not trying to make a profit here. We're just trying to recover the costs that are incurred in performing these services. So what is the ongoing program to ensure that we're trying to minimize the time and money that people have to spend if they need any of these services?
If you guys, Jeff and Alan, I'll go ahead and take a first. Okay. First, when we do inspections, we try to geographically put them together as best we can. So for example, food safety inspectors, they have geographic areas, and they schedule their visits so that they minimize the amount of time they are spending going from place to place. In addition, over the last couple years, we have gone to online permitting. A lot of our work, and matter of fact, when the pandemic hit and we closed our offices, a lot of the work we were doing was able to continue because we had already moved in that direction. So that is saving some staff time. And we work to educate and make sure people understand what is required of them. For example, during the pandemic, our food safety inspectors called many food establishments and talked to them about the requirements were, how we were going to be doing inspections, so that they could be prepared and know and get through those inspections as efficiently as possible.
My job as the department finance director is to look at our budget collectively at the fund level. We've done all we can over the years to reduce the impact of county indirects on our funds. The environmental public health unit pays about 40% of the county indirects that are charged to our fund. We've done things such as reduce the size of our computer fleet, move to mobile devices to make sure we have as few devices as we can to reduce the burden of county indirects on our department. We've eliminated non-leased network printers. We've done all we can to impact that element of our overall fund costs. We eliminated our fleet. We had 20 fleet vehicles, I would say mid 2000s. We're down to 2. We negotiated that with our bargaining unit. It was a cost savings having staff drive their personal vehicles instead of driving county fleet vehicles. So I would say we've done as much as I've been able to identify to mitigate cost to our fund or this division.
Okay. Thank you for that additional insight, and certainly I recognize it. No doubt this is an ongoing process to always look for the best efficiency to keep prices as low as possible.
There are other questions of the council. If there are no questions, let's move to the next slide, the last slide, which is asking for next steps.
Yeah, what we need to leave with today is a consensus from the Board of Health on what you would like us to bring forward in an ordinance for our 2022 fees. The other file you received has other scenarios. Leaving the one-on-ones and one-on-twos, it seemed there seemed to be consensus for the 90-10 approach for the 2 programs mentioned, and remaining at 100% cost recovery for the other programs. That's why this PowerPoint only focused on those 2 models.
Okay, then let's kind of, I'd like to kind of ask the council just to verify that you would like to go ahead and bring forth the 90-10 approach for as an ordinance. Comments of the council, please.
And just to clarify that, if we went that way, that would be proposal number 3. That
Yeah,
is
the previous
being
slide.
recommended. And so, yes, I do endorse that. And the 100% recovery in other areas.
I would support that proposal coming forward as well.
Me too.
Okay, it looks like we do have consensus to go forward with that approach, and could bring that forward with an ordinance.
Thank you very much, councilors. I appreciate it.
Okay. Is that all we have for this work session? All right. Thank you so much. All right.
Thank you, councilors.
Thank you. Okay, councilors, thanks so much.